I chair the forum. My deputy is Adrian Inker, who is online as well this evening. And I'm just looking to see whether we got some new faces, but if we have, you're more than welcome. So we'll kick off. Warm welcome to everybody to Kingston Area Forum. And if it is your first meeting, then please, take a full part. I just got to read out the bit that says, can I remind everyone to keep background noise to a minimum, to only speak one person at a time and not to speak over others. And if you could mute your microphones when not speaking, then obviously that would be very helpful. What else? Oh, sorry, yes, if you wish to speak, then please do so by using the May I Speak or MIS, which is May I Speak, into the participant. No, where do we want it typed into?
Into the chat.
Into the chat, that's right. And then we can call you in as things go along. We also will be the meeting will be recorded on the council's YouTube channel so that people can view it afterwards if they wish. I always wonder why they want to, but there we go, not to worry. If you do not wish to appear, then please turn off your video, and that will obviously give you some anonymity. We got some apologies. We've received apologies from Councillor Brian Simmons, Councillor Lisa O'Brien, Avon Fire and Rescue, and Lottie Smith-Collins from Salford Parish Council. So does anybody else have any apologies they want to offer? No, take that as a no then, moving on. Right. The first thing that I need to bring to you is an update on Keynsham High Street. Now I appreciate we are the forum for Keynsham and District. Hang on a moment, well, we thought that, yeah. So it doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, but having said that, if you are coming to Keynsham High Street, I suppose a public information warning is that you should be very careful in crossing the road in relation to the cycle track that's there. There have been a number of trips and falls, and clearly we don't want any more if we can avoid it. So a stage, and this is a briefing note that I've been given by Cleo Newcombe-Jones, who's heading up the team that's dealing with it. So the summary note is that a stage 3 road safety audit was undertaken following completion of construction work. Data on trips and falls, along with the personal injury collision data collected by the police, was assessed by the auditor as part of the audit. The following recommendation or recommendations are currently being considered for implementation by both the design team and the council, including the Highways Authority. And those recommendations are the installation of additional physical measures to prevent the vehicle overrun on the eastern footway and to ensure the clearway is enforced. Ensure adequate drainage at the rear access at number 69. Swap out gully covers to new covers with smaller slots. Change tactiles at Bath Hill crossing from red to buff and replace lifting tactiles in the central refuge. Repair and upgrade the utility covers within the tail of the zebra crossing to include tactiles. Treat utility covers in cycle lane with anti-skid material. Well, it says anti-ski material here, but well, anyway, hopefully to prevent slips with the bikes. To install install corduroy paving at bus stop, revise map included in the traffic signage at the junction of Charlton Road, to install the missing look right sign at uncontrolled crossing. It then gives me footnotes that the central refuge, the lifting of the panels relates to the central refuge, which is currently outside of the scheme boundary. The utility covers that I mentioned must be of standard construction and comply with ESQCR regulations. And guidance changed in December 21 after the bus stop had been constructed. Before this, corduroy paving was not recommended at raised bus stops. Also, following a design review, the following additional enhancements have been proposed by the design team in addition to the road safety audit recommendations. That coloured, it will be red, I'm given to understand, coloured tarmac will be laid throughout the length of the cycle lane to enhance demarcation, reduce the width of the solid white line marking the edge of the cycle lane in line with the DFT standards. Exciting, isn't it, being part of the council and rushing from office to office? But I got my tea with me, so everything is well. Yes, following a design review, the following additional enhancements have been proposed by the design team in addition to the road safety audit recommendations. To install coloured red tarmac through the length of the cycle lane to enhance the demarcation, which I think will make a significant difference. To reduce the width of the solid white line marking the edge of the cycle lane in line with DFT standards. Again, I think that will be helpful. Increase the number of cycle symbol markings along the cycle lane. Install additional planters to prevent vehicle overrun and further encourage use of the 3 pedestrian crossings, and to reinstate the dashed white line at Charlton Road Junction. So that's the extent of the briefing note. I think at this moment in time, I'm not going to open it out into a discussion because the councillors have only just received the update today, and we could go all across the meeting and spend a lot of time not really being able to do too much about what's contained in that briefing note, because the briefing note is fact as far as the team is concerned. I've spoken to one of the other Keynsham district councillors today, proposing that we actually, the 6 district councillors in Keynsham, actually sit down together and discuss what's there, because I think it's fair to say that not everybody will, of the 6 of us, will agree with some of the recommendations. Some of us might feel that they haven't gone far enough. So there's a lot of grey area which I think needs to be talked about initially, and then we will take back our thoughts on it to the team. Now, the report will be published tomorrow on the web, so people can look at it. I'm making an assumption that there is a feedback facility on that, but I haven't seen it. So if there is, clearly people can feedback as they see fit, and quite rightly so. So you'll forgive me if we move on now, because as I say, I don't want to open up an almost boundless discussion on it when we cannot do anything about what I've just read out to you. Okay, so we'll move to the second section of the meeting, which is the police update. Now, I'm not sure whether Sergeant Cooman is with us this evening. He has provided a written update. If he's not, nobody appears to be.
No, it doesn't look like
No.
we have any police representation. Alan, could I just go back to the chat, because there is something in the chat that says why restrict this to just Keynsham. I'm just wondering whether that is the report to Keynsham councillors. I'm assuming that's what was meant by that.
Who asked that question? Please.
From Compton,
it's Barrington Hart from Compton Dando. I've asked the question. I was one of the first casualties of falling over the curb because I'm slightly visually impaired. And the fact that it's been discussed with just Keynsham councillors, I would have thought it's been just as, probably even in some ways more dangerous to people who don't know Keynsham than it has been to the people who live locally. And that's why I was wondering why it's all being restricted just to the 6 local councillors.
Well, from a practical point of view at this stage, they say, I received the briefing note today. I've spoken to one of the other 5 councillors today, and we were going to sit down together as the elected district councillors for the town to discuss it. If others want to put in thoughts or suggestions at this time, then that's fine. But there is little that, if we have an open discussion now, then I don't think we will achieve a great deal, because it's that there are so many if, buts and maybes that I can't give you an answer to. So all you would be doing would be talking to me and the assembled gathering. Please rest assured, it's not a wish to close discussion down in any way, shape or form. I've been dealing with people since day one when it opened, because the first fall was reported on Facebook. I went to the town on day one, or to the high street on day one. I was there when somebody else fell over. I gave them first aid. So rest assured that you sort of pushed me into a corner, but I'm not happy with the situation. So I don't want to say any more than that, but rest assured this isn't a council cover-up, if that's what you feel. You know, those who know me hopefully would agree that I'm not into council cover-ups. I'm here to represent the people who elected me. I'm not here to represent the corporate body that is Bath and North East Somerset Council. So I believe it's right and proper that the first point of discussion is myself and the other 5 councillors. But equally, if you want to email in any thoughts, then clearly we will take that on board. And how we then move forward, we will have to look at.
Alan, we can also feed back to officers that they need to engage with the wider community. So, so we'll feed that back following the meeting. So we'll make sure that's fed back.
Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, I've got no concerns that there's any cover up or anything like that. I was told, I was the first one to report by an email into the town council even before it was open of my problem, but the spam system hid my complaint for quite a while. However, this has been ongoing, and it is concern not just of Keynsham, but for a lot of the areas around Keynsham, because a lot of us use Keynsham as our centre for shopping and everything else. So I was thinking that we should have, sometimes Keynsham forgets that we do have quite an important view from around the parishes. Yeah,
please don't think that I do forget that, because clearly the health of the town very much depends upon the people who come there to shop and socialise. And not everybody that comes to shop and socialise comes from Keynsham. The problem at this stage, as far as encompassing all those views, is that I know that people come to the town from Longwell Green, come to the town from Bath. So So it's very difficult to, well, very difficult, I don't know, you'll disagree perhaps, but it's not easy then to encompass lots of views from people who actually come to the town. Now, I appreciate that there are other parish councils around the town and that many of their community will come to Keynsham as a central hub, if for want of a better term. But as you've heard say, that feedback is happy to be received. And once we, the 6 district councillors who have that direct connection with the people who are looking to deliver resolutions, once we have had our meeting, so that we have a, well, as common a ground as we can have, we can then move on, and how we move on will depend on what we're looking at. And yes, it may well be that we end up calling a public meeting for anybody such as yourself to come to express their views, because it is vitally important that the situation in Keynsham High Street is properly resolved, because it is appalling that for however long it's been open, and I've lost track of that, we have had significant numbers of casualties, and not just people grazing their knees. We have had people who have face planted the highway, who have destroyed their spectacles, who have gone to the Royal United Hospital at Bath and come out with plaster cast, boots, etc., because they have had significant bony injuries. So there is in no way do I belittle the situation. It gives me grave concern, and we have to start somewhere. So what we are going to do as the 6 district councillors is to make that start, and working by looking at what I've just read out to you and whether it will make any difference. Because at the end of the day, we need to be in a position, if nothing else, to say to the council, told you so. So we have been pushing it for a long time, and so rest assured that what we are trying to achieve will be worked towards. You know, I never make a promise that I will achieve anything other than to do my best. So
thank you for that. And some of these solutions read out are major improvements. Who is picking up the costs for quite a lot of work?
That's a very good question. I wish I had a very good answer, because the cost of the project, as I understand it, wasn't borne by the council per se. It was external money, but I don't know who will bear the cost. But that's a question that can be answered in the fullness of time. Okay. Right. We'll move on now then. Do we have a police update?
No, I don't think there's anybody from the police.
No.
I can't see anybody on the screen.
And we haven't got a written report?
No, we don't have a written report.
No, okay.
But if oh, sorry, no, they do. They have also sent a written report. So Alison, I'll circulate that after the meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Avon Fire and Rescue Service have given their apologies. They have sent a written report, and that will also be circulated with the minutes after the event. The next topic is an update on Ukraine, and so can I introduce Sarah Dixon, who sat here next to me, who is locality manager with Bath and North East Somerset Council, to give an update on the guests from Ukraine within the council area.
Okay, I've got a presentation, Alan, so do you mind if I squeeze a bit closer towards you? And I'm going to do this as a joint presentation with Chris Essex as well, the local support, and I'm not sure Dave Biddleston is on the call yet, but I've got a bit of an update from the Keynsham group. Before I started, I just wanted to thank our communities actually for the huge support they've offered to the guests that have arrived here from Ukraine. As always, our community does pull together really quickly. As you showed in COVID, you've done it again. It's fantastic the support you've offered. And you'll hear more from Chris about the support that's being offered in Salford, which is absolutely fantastic. And the local network in Keynsham, which is equally a successful and fantastic work that they're doing there. So thanks to everyone that have pulled together and supporting the groups. As a council, we certainly couldn't have done it without you, and it's very important that we work alongside the groups and make sure we're connecting people so that they can integrate well into the community when they arrive. So I have got a presentation just really just to help remind me of the pointers to give you a bit of an update. So for those of you that may or may not know about the schemes from Ukraine, there are two schemes in operation. One is the Homes for Ukraine sponsorship scheme, and the other is the Ukraine Family Visa Scheme. And anybody arriving on any of those schemes are free to live, work and access public services and benefits. The council is ultimately responsible for dealing with the Homes for Ukraine sponsorship scheme. And that's because the way it was set up is that sponsors are matched with the guests. They do that separately themselves. Once they have been matched, they are then, as a council, we are required to then do a number of checks in order for them to come and for them to arrive in the UK. And the council has a duty to support those under that scheme. That's not to say that we don't support those on the Ukraine Family Visa Scheme, but the Homes for Ukraine scheme, the government has set it up in a way that the council has a number of duties to do to support guests. Also, the difference with the Homes for Ukraine scheme is that there is funding attached to that scheme, which gives individuals coming on that scheme £200 each. And the sponsors are given a thank you payment of £350 per month during the time that the guests stay with them. So here are some figures that I've provided about the numbers at the moment for guests that are arriving into the Baines area. It's not the whole picture, it's only part of a picture, because we don't know, because we're not given the details of those that are coming on the family visa scheme. So we know that the numbers that we're showing here, there's more that have arrived in our area. But what we know at the moment is, and it changes daily, we're getting more sponsors being added to the register daily, but at the moment we have 134 sponsors and over 300 guests have now been matched. Arrivals, we've had 83 sponsor homes that have received guests, and that equates to about 179 guests that have arrived in our area. On the right hand side of the screen, you'll see a breakdown of where people are matched in terms of the forum areas. And as you'll see in the Keynsham area, there are 22 sponsor homes. That could be obviously an individual or a family of 3, 4, 5 people. So it's quite a large proportion. So across the whole district, 50% approximately are based in Bath. The other 50% are based across North East Somerset. So it's quite an interesting spread. And just to explain a little bit about the council's duty, we are required to do pre and post arrival checks. So we're required to visit the accommodation before the guests arrive to check that it's suitable for the guests. We are required to do DBS checks on all the sponsors, all of those over 16 in the household. And then on arrival, we are asked to do welfare checks. And the council made a decision very early on that we would use our community wellbeing hub and the team within the community wellbeing hub, which our team is one, to support the welfare checks. And the reason for that is that so that we can easily make onward referrals to support services like Bath Mind, like the CAB and other services that the guests may need access to. And it was a safe way for us to share data and information. Also, as a council, we need to provide ongoing support to the guests and sponsors. deal with any accommodation issues, and respond to any safeguarding issues that might arise. And as I've said, the Homes for Ukraine scheme has a grant payment attached to the scheme. So what we have done, as I said, the welfare checks as a team. Our team are quite heavily involved in the welfare checks, so we're leading on that and coordinating that with our partners here at the hub. So we've got council staff, plus staff from HCRG and partner organisations like our village agents are supporting us on their welfare checks. And we've done 80 welfare checks so far, and that's been really positive, and we've had really positive feedback. And the welfare checks are completed very soon after a guest has arrived. We tried initially in the beginning to do that within a few days, but we realised that people had arrived and it was a bit overwhelming for us to also turn up with all the things that they had to deal with and get settled into the area. So we're now doing it within a week of them arriving where we possibly can. And during our welfare visits, we make sure that we're signposting to health services, schools, emotional health and wellbeing support, money and advice, and also signposting them to the services that are available. And of course, most importantly, the local support that's around. We are commissioning Bath Welcomes Refugees and to support because they have got quite a lot of experience. So they're doing a lot of work and support across the whole district and supporting local groups where it's needed. And as I say, we're keen to link up as much as we can with the local support that's available. So if you know any groups that are setting up or any activities that you're running that would benefit some of our guests, then please do let us know. The ongoing support is really important. As you can appreciate, when people arrive, there's lots of things for them to do. They've got to obviously get their benefits. They've got to get the children into schools. They've got, a lot of them want to start English language classes. They want to integrate. They want to be part of the community. But it's the ongoing support that's really important. And, you know, actually people need more support as time goes on in accessing other services. As they settle down, sadly, relationships do break down, and that's unfortunate, and we have to respond to that. So the ongoing support is really important. So we're offering that support through the Wellbeing Hub. So if you have anybody that a sponsor or a guest that needs support, then do direct them to the Community Wellbeing Hub. We're looking at commissioning more services. Obviously, as you can all appreciate, the public sector and voluntary and community sector are stretched in terms of supporting residents generally, but actually this is actually additional pressure, and so we're actually trying to put some more funding and resources into our support services such as Bath Mind, CAB and other support as we identify what additional support is needed. We hosted our first event for sponsors and guests last Monday, and that went down really well, and we're looking to do that more regularly and doing that as a virtual event. And we've created a dedicated newsletter so that we can easily communicate and update information for sponsors and guests also. You might be interested to know that we will be setting up a grant scheme that's available for local organisations and groups to apply for activity. So if you are a local group, Community 67 or Alan, there's a Dementia Action Alliance or Food Bank or whoever you are that might be looking at developing a project, we'd really welcome some applications, and that will be open for applications. I think it's the middle of July. And the council is updating its website regularly, so if you have anybody that you need to signpost to information, there's lots of information on the government website. I was going to hand over to Dave Biddleston, but he's not here, so I'm going to just do a bit of an update. I'm not taking his credit, I'm just reading the information he provided me. So Keynsham, a Ukrainian support network, was set up fairly quickly, and they've provided a fantastic website which is signposting to lots of support services and local groups. They're running English language classes at Community 67 on a Tuesday, which is really positive, and they're promoting lots of events and activities for local services. And what's also really important is they've identified some local volunteers to help guests and sponsors with filling out forms. There's lots of work for guests to do when they arrive, and there's lots of form filling. It must be very daunting for people when they arrive and they're faced with universal credit forms and filling out their biometric residence permits and all the other things that go alongside it. It must be very daunting. So it's great to have volunteers on hand to be able to help people complete the forms and the processes that need to follow. I'm going to hand over to Chris because he's done some fantastic work in Salford, and I've got a little slide of some of the things that Chris has done, but he'll talk to the slide and the information. So I'll hand over to Chris now.
Cheers, Sarah. In fact, I'm going to update a bit of it because there's another one arrived. We now have 13 families who are hosting that we know of, and a total of 28 Ukrainian guests. 7 are based in Salford, 4 are in Keynsham. A new one contacted me today, and their guests arrived just yesterday, but they'd not been in touch previously. We have 1 in Keynsham and 1 in Kingston. Sadly, the family of one host in Keynsham returned home within a week of arriving to care for an elderly mother and grandmother that they had left behind. I think it's quite daunting really for a host where that happens, and they're obviously considering what to do in terms of going forward. We have 3 others in Salford currently awaiting visa approval, and possibly 1 more in Keynsham, although I haven't heard from her recently. There also is, we believe, in Keynsham, a Ukrainian family who are hosting other family members under the family scheme that you were just talking about. We've gone from 2 classes, English classes, every Wednesday and every Saturday morning to now 3 classes on these days with the help of Bath Welcomes Refugees, and my thanks to Alice Hervey, who I don't think is on here today, but she's been great in finding an additional volunteer from outside Salford to set up the 3rd class on Wednesday, and another different volunteer will be starting this Saturday. We've also started every Saturday morning providing a free cafe alongside the English lessons so that hosts and their guests can network. We also offer donated items, which are mainly clothes and toys, at each of these sessions. And around about a month ago, we also provided, when most of them had arrived, traditional Sunday roast beef lunch with all the trimmings for nearly 50 hosts and their guests at Salford Hall. And we asked their guests to contribute what were some wonderful Ukrainian desserts. You can see the pictures on our Facebook page. We continue to provide lifts to various appointments and classes when they need them. We have a team of people who have offered their services for that. We have an active WhatsApp group for hosts, and I believe our guests have also set one up for themselves, but that's entirely up to them to set up. We also provide a comprehensive welcome pack to new arrivals and support with other items once they're here. For example, at least 2 families we've supported recently for the cost of prescription glasses. And finally, I was going to add that I have also issued a couple of e-vouchers for Food Bank to 2 different families that are being hosted in Salford. They both were one of the first families to arrive, and it's a case of their initial funds have run out, but Universal Credit has not yet started paying. And I think this will be probably a fairly common feature, that there will be a gap between when the funding that they initially receive runs out, which we provide an additional amount to, and when Universal Credit kicks in. But I think once Universal Credit kicks in, the feeling is that they should be fairly self-sufficient. That's probably about it. We have a dedicated email address that anybody can contact us on, which is help@salfordhub.org. And as I say, until I was contacted this morning, we hadn't had any new hosts appear that we weren't aware of for some weeks actually. But there are obviously other people around who have registered for the scheme and are just quietly working away, considering everything. People might be interested to know that I've been running groups on this maybe for 3 months now, and certainly a number of those who registered for the Ukraine Homes for Ukraine scheme initially, after giving it much further thought, have not progressed it. It is a major undertaking that people really need to think about before going ahead, because it will change their lives for the time they're here, which will be 6 months, but possibly 3 years. It's not a light undertaking. You know, for example, you know, they may arrive, there's a family I'm thinking of in Salford, where the family arrived and 2 days later they happened to have a holiday booked, so then you know, they had to go away and leave them in their home literally within a couple of days of them arriving. There's a lot to think about. It's not a decision to be taken lightly, but if you do make the decision, as I say, in the Salford Keynsham area, we'll happily try and support them.
Thank you, Chris. I think, Chris, just to let you know, and for others as well, if you do know of any guest that has used up their initial grant payment, there is the opportunity to get more funding. The council will pay more funding to the guests until their universal credit payment is in payment. So please do direct them back to us in the council, and we'll make sure they all get a prepayment card, and we can automatically do that virtually. We can update that very quickly. So please do direct them back. Can
you send us a note of who to contact?
Yes,
is it you?
It will no, but I'll send you a note. It's I don't know whether Alison can type it in. It's Angela Hooker. It's the welfare support team's email address.
You could put it in the chat. I'll make.
Yeah, Alison will find it and put it in the chat. So so do please.
I wasn't aware of that, so that's useful actually.
Yeah, so please do send them back. The really important thing is that we don't want people to get into debt. Universal credit. Some of the Ukrainian guests had thought initially that it was a loan because of credit. They just automatically thought it was a loan. And of course, universal credit has an advanced payment sometimes at the beginning, which they do have to pay back. So we are advising guests not to claim for the advanced payment, and that the council will make additional payments once their funds have run out. So we can do that automatically, because it's really important that guests don't get into debt while they're here. So that's one of the things that that we're doing to support. I think
Adrian's got a question.
Adrian, go on.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. It's not so much a question, really, more a comment. As well as being involved in Community at 67, I'm also involved with Butterflies Haven in Keynsham, and we work with families and young people with autism. We're quite happy actually to support anybody that comes from Ukraine that may have the additional needs that we can meet, and they're more than welcome to come along, and you know, they will be invited in and made very, very welcome. We normally close down at the end of July for the school holidays, but if there was a need there from people, you know, we are quite happy to stay open during that period if the demand is there for us to do so. We're more than happy to do that.
Thanks, Adrian. I'm not aware of anyone with autism. Interestingly, one of the guests who have already arrived is a 26-year-old male, which is actually quite rare because men are not allowed to leave unless they have more than 2 children. He's here because he's actually on dialysis, and the local St. Augustine's have been brilliant in organising his dialysis to continue as soon as he arrived. It was all a bit dodgy because actually there was a 3-day delay between him getting here when he was expected, but he's now fine and receiving dialysis and looking for a job. So, but yeah, if I hear of anybody with autism issues, I'll point them in your direction.
Just to say, Chris, they don't have need a diagnosis or anything like that. We take people without diagnosis. So if there's an additional need in that way, we're more than happy to adapt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. I think it's appropriate for me to say thank you to Sarah and those who work with her, but equally, and perhaps even more so, and I expect Sarah would accept that.
No, definitely.
Chris working sort of out of Saltford, and Dave working out of Keynsham. And as we saw from some of the numbers that were put forward by Chris, it isn't just Keynsham centric, it is working in the parishes around as well. And once again, Keynsham, Saltford and those around have risen to the need. So thank you for everything that you do. Before we move on, if I can just clarify one announcement. I'm not part of the Dementia Action Alliance.
Oh, I apologise.
No, that's all right.
Sorry,
No, that's fine.
apologise.
No, absolutely fine. So just moving on then. What I'd like to do now is to introduce to you Pam Turton. Pam is the newly installed Head of Transport Strategy at Bath and North East Somerset Council. I won't go on anymore. I'm sure that Pam would like to actually introduce herself. And unlike me, she will know what she's talking about.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you all very much for having me at your meeting this evening. It's really great to be able to join you all. As Alan says, I'm Pam Turton. I am the Head of Transport Strategy here at Baines. I started at the council in April, coming from Portsmouth City Council, where I did a similar role, covering both kind of strategic and operational transport. I'm here tonight, though, in a slightly different role, and I'm here in my role as the place lead for Keynsham Area Forum. And so, if it's okay with you, I'd like to spend a couple of minutes introducing this new way of working that the council is trialling. Alison, do you want me to share my slides? Is that the easiest? Share my screen.
Whichever you prefer, Pam. Let me know.
Well, if you wouldn't mind bringing it up, that'd be lovely, and then I can just. I'm not sure about the IT element of it. Amazing. Thank you very much. Can you all see that okay? So, having worked in local government for probably more years than I'm willing to admit, I've often heard, in fact, most recently yesterday, the criticism that in local government, we tend to work in silos rather than seeing the bigger picture and looking at challenges facing community in an integrated and holistic way. And so the new approach that we're hoping to bring to you, this place-based approach, is seeking to address that and enable communities to have a much greater say in what happens in their local area, which was identified as a key commitment of the local authority in recent months. So 5 virtual place teams have been created, with a head of service from the Sustainable Communities Directorate being allocated as a lead for each area. So while we will be focused on the Keynsham Area Forum area, it's clear that there will be crossovers with the adjoining areas, and so we'll need to be able to flex and respond to those needs as they arise. Could I have the next slide, please, Alison? Sitting behind the area leads will be a multidisciplinary team back at the Baines, which will help embed the learning from each of the areas in each of the different service areas across the Sustainable Communities Directorate. And we'll bring in different people as we go through and as you identify the need for that. Can we have the next slide, please, Alison? So the key objectives that I would like to seek your views on are around listening, understanding and supporting the communities in the Keynsham area in a way that's hopefully helpful to you, and working essentially to align community priorities with the work being undertaken at Baines. It's really important, though, to note that this isn't to replace the relationships that you'll have directly with the services, and the experts in those areas. For example, the development of local plans or neighbourhood plans, or indeed to replace that role of your local councillors in advocating for communities. This is simply a new way of ensuring that we have a much greater relationship with yourselves, and that we're able to really look holistically at the community and hopefully come up with some greater outcomes. Can I have the next slide, please, Alison? So this is just a very rudimentary graphic that's trying to show how we're really trying to join up the different service areas within the council and funnel those through to yourselves, and vice versa in terms of the interests and priorities that you have, making it easier to engage with and work with the council, and hopefully enable a more holistic consideration of schemes informed by a much more comprehensive understanding of your local priorities. Essentially, the hope is that the place lead will act as a conduit of information and a single point of contact to improve access to and communication with the council, which, you know, it can sometimes overwhelming looking at the breadth of services which are operated by the council, and so fundamentally this is a way, hopefully, of enabling a better working relationship, enabling us to communicate better and provide positive support for your priorities and key areas you'd like to focus on. And could you just have the final slide, please? So as I say, this is a new approach. It's being trialled in the areas across Bains, and we want to work with you to flex that approach so it really fits the needs of your community. And so I would be delighted to have some feedback and input, or any questions that you might have, just so that we can begin to have that dialogue, to work together to create an approach that works well for you. Thank you very much.
Pam. Does anybody have a question? Well, I think we're going to have to take that as, oh, 1 minute. No. Yeah. Baron, go ahead.
Sorry, there's a misprint type of glassed over Galstweek. The joined up thinking seems to disappear from around here. We seem to have roadworks going on different places which don't look at the bigger picture. A couple of years ago, we had the two-headed man roadworks going on the A39, at the same time as resurfacing other roads down into our local council area, as such that it was only about one road out of 4 into the village that you could actually come in, because there seemed to be no joined up working going on across different departments. So that'd be one area that'd be great to see some thinking about when you do things and what does it clash with.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really good feedback, and that's certainly something we can look at. I mean, the kind of management of all the different highways activity is very complex, but it's absolutely critical, as you say, that we are fully aware of what's happening in all the other areas, so that we ensure that disruption is minimised. So yes, thank you. I'll take that back.
I think just to put a slight defender in there, much of the roadworks aren't necessarily council initiated, and the utilities have the ability to come along and do the work that they need because they have permitted development. So it's not always the council, but trying to get it all tied up is something I've been banging on about for years. And I don't know that we'll ever be successful. And of course, if a program of road resurfacing has been in place all of the year, you know, I'm not the expert, but I imagine to try and take it out of the program because something else is happening somewhere else isn't straightforward. But I think your point is very well made.
Much of the resurfacing program, it says it will happen somewhere in the next 18 months. And I've asked through our parish council if we could have a schedule of when things are going to happen, and we've never yet ever got that out of Bains.
Right. Well, in that case, I'm sure that that's something that Pam will pick up. So So welcome to Baines, Pam. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's good fun, and it's a wonderful place to be involved in, as I'm sure everybody sat in front of me on that screen will agree to. It's a beautiful part of the country. We have our problems like anywhere else, but hopefully they aren't always major. Oh, I've got 3 hands being pointed out to me. I don't know who came up first,
Adrian.
but I'll work from the left across my screen anyway. So Adrian.
Thank you, Alan. I have had the fortune of meeting Pam a few months ago now, Pam, I think, wasn't it? And we had a talk.
Yeah.
I just really pleased actually that Pam took the time and the effort to come and see Keynsham for herself and talk to local people. And I think it's fair to say I did bend their ears quite significantly during that morning. But the issue for me was around consultation. And, you know, the number of times this comes up, it is incredible, really. And Sarah, I know, arranged a small working group was a couple of years ago now, Sarah, I believe, wasn't it? When we looked at it in some detail. And, you know, you talk about communication and things like that, and joined upness, what people want, and engaging with people. And I think this has been a major failing, quite frankly, for quite a while now, actually. For me, people need to feel that they've been listened to. They need to feel that they have every opportunity to put their voice forward and it to be listened to, not necessarily turned down, but, you know, to be listened to and valued because they've taken the effort to do it. Also, I think people need to be very clear as to what actually they're consulting on and what can be delivered, because it's very easy to say, we want to do this. And necessarily that might not be the right question to ask. It might be a question of, well, we're going to do this. How can we do it? Which suits you best? And that may be because the council's under a number of pressures. It could be pressure from central government. It could be pressure coming from other areas. So basically, you've got no choice but to do it. But you want to do it in the way which is supported by the majority of the people. So I think it's about being fair, being honest, being open. And really engaging with people at a very, very early stage, so people feel they can contribute and their contribution is valued. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted when I'm saying this, but it's surprising how often that gets missed. And, you know, when people get into a consultation and they feel they've not been listened to, they're not that keen to get involved the second time round because, well, what's the point?
I think you've frozen, Adrian, unless you're giving it a lot of thought. You still?
Sorry, Alan, I missed that.
I had you finished, but you seemed to freeze. That was all.
Okay, mate. I finished now. Thank you.
All right, mate. Thank you. Duncan.
Thank you. Just a few quick points. Firstly, just to stress the importance of good communication between Baines and the parish clerks. Parish clerks are excellent in our area, but quite often, or too often, let's say, they don't get the information that they can then disseminate, and obviously the information can flow in the opposite way. There's a big issue with information coming down from WECA because often that they're involved with strategic highway schemes and so on. And it's very hard even for the district councillors to know what they've got in mind, yet alone the parish clerk. So that's a real weakness in this area. Just a suggestion, because this holistic approach is new, how about producing some 4 case studies? They don't have to be based on any sort of real events, but just to give us an idea of how this might work, you know, how your concept might play out in practice. Yeah. And just one last point about the road resurfacing, just to give credit to, in particular, Andy Higginson, Baines officer. I found that I always get the information about road resurfacing well ahead of time, and the dates for Wells Way and Burnett Hill are now well known. So thank you to him. So there is, there's certainly good practice going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. Hal.
Well, two questions really. How do you relate to Fix My Street? Because a lot of people have been told that that's the way that they should communicate with the council. We ourselves as councillors, if we have trouble, there's been a new system brought out that we are supposed to go to those people. So I just wanted to be clear, how you come into it. And that leads me on to the second question. I mean, let's take our current status with the high street and the problems we've had. You can see we've got a report which we haven't looked at yet. People want to talk about it. How can you help us with that?
Do you want me to, can I answer this? Brilliant. So on the first one, the idea of the place leads role isn't to replace the existing structures that you have. So the communication would be directly with the Fix My Street, for example, in the example you raised, and so that would remain. In terms of the links with the high street, I would certainly hope that Cleo and her team will always be the main points of contact, but my role would be in supporting that dialogue and making sure that you have all the relevant information that you need, and hopefully being involved to bring in all the different strands of consultation and feedback to make sure that we get a positive resolution. So that would be my role, to kind of unlock any challenges that we're having and help to facilitate that discussion between yourselves as the community and Baines as the implementation of the scheme.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. There are no other hands up. So again, a thank you to you for coming along and meeting everybody. And I'm sure that we will be in contact with you frequently, if not regularly.
No, please do. I think my contact details have been shared in the chat, so please do feel free to contact me as and when you need anything.
Thank you, Pam.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for having me.
Okay, we're now moving. Gosh, we're on time. Can't be bad. I'd now like to introduce Kate Hobson, who is the Project Development and Delivery Manager at Bath and North East Somerset Council's Neighbourhood Environment Services, to give an update on the Keynsham Recycling Hub. So, Kate, are you there?
I certainly am. Thank you.
Well,
hello. And I'm also joined by two of our contractor representatives, Claire and Suzanne, who are going to, well, I think they're still there. I can't actually see them, but they're going to join in with some of the presentation. So, Alison, would you mind putting up the slides for me? Is Alison still there?
Working on it. She's just pulling
Yes,
okay, sorry.
I'm getting there, sorry.
Sorry. Right, there we go. Yeah, thank you. So yes, thank you for inviting us to share this with you this afternoon, this evening. This is to give you an update on what we're calling now the Keynsham Recycling Hub, but a lot of people will be familiar with the existing recycling centre on Pixash Lane, just outside Keynsham, or just on the edge of Keynsham, which that site and the surrounding land that the council has purchased is forming the new Keynsham Recycling Hub, as I said, as we're calling it. So if I could move to the next slide, please, Alison. So I'm not going to dwell too much on the sort of background to it at this stage, because we have got to a point where we are in construction, which is partly why Farron's, our contractor, are here with us tonight. We have worked on this for a number of years, but was successful in getting planning permission last summer, actually. And as I say, we're now in the construction phase. So I was just going to give you a brief overview of the key milestones that are coming forward in what's actually a very quick build programme. So later on this year, we will be due to open the new public waste and recycling centre element of the whole site. So that's the equivalent of what's there at the moment, but much bigger and much more user-friendly, be much easier to use, and it's been designed with the traffic flows very much at the forefront of our minds, and how to make it easier for people to use so that they can move through, deposit their waste and recycling much more easily and quickly, and move on out again. And there will be, because of the size it's been designed at, we'll be able to recycle even more materials than we can offer to residents at the moment, things like mattresses and other plastics, perhaps, as the markets for recycling those materials actually develops. So we're looking forward to that very much, and that's really the very first thing that will be open and available to the public to use. And at the same time, the existing public recycling centre will close, but not until that point. It then needs to close to allow it to be demolished for the rest of the site to continue to be constructed. Which brings me on to the next phase, which is to finish next summer, about a year's time, when all our operational relocations from the Midland Road depot in Bath, and also from Ashmead Road around the corner in Keynsham, will relocate here to Pixash, and including the fleet workshops. There's one actually at Midland Road, one in Locksbrook Road in Bath, and a small one at the Ashmead depot. So that will all come together on the one site. And it will help us make our operations much more efficient and resilient, because we'll be all in one place and be able to sort of do some cross working with drivers and loaders and so on. So there'll be much more flexibility for us. If there are any collection day changes needing for residents around the district, those will obviously be notified well in advance, and we'll construct a communications programme for all of that. So rest assured that will be advised to residents where it's needed. It won't be wholesale across the district like it has been in the past, but there may be a few residents affected. As I said, it will help us improve our resilience in our refuse and recycling collection service, and garden waste obviously as well. And there will also be a brand new reuse shop and donation point at the same location that will open. So that will allow a lot more residents to bring in the items that they no longer have a use for, but are still in perfectly working order or perfectly good condition. They can bring them in, donate them, and then browse the shop to take away and buy other items that other residents have brought in. And I'm not sure how many people are aware that we frequently have the Money for Nothing BBC programme coming to film at the current Pixash Recycling Centre, so we hope that will continue on as well, obviously. One of the elements of the Locksbrook Road Fleet Workshop is that we do offer public MOTs and servicing there, and that will also transfer to the Pixash site. So that will be a new offer for residents of Keynsham and Salford to take up. And just one point that we like to make is that the existing public recycling centre that's at Midland Road, as well as all our operations, that public facility will remain open until we've developed and built a replacement for Bath residents, and that's likely to be in the Odd Down area, but that's another project that's in progress. Could I have the next slide, please, Alison? So I just wanted to very quickly show aerial image of the site. This comes from the planning document, so it won't be fully up to date with regard to any changes that are coming through the design and build process with Farron's. But essentially, as I've mentioned, we've got a public recycling centre there, shown at actually 10 and 11. Building number 5 is the big MRF materials recycling facility and transfer station that we're building so that we can sort and recycle all the curbside materials that we collect on our Roma Quick vehicles, and also deposit the black bag waste that we collect in the garden waste and ship that off site for treatment and reprocessing. And number 7 is the fleet workshop that I've talked about. And there's other, and we're also obviously having to provide offices for the management and supervisory staff and welfare, as there will be a number 200 odd staff based at this site once it actually opens. These slides can be made available, so I won't dwell on them too much. Alison, could you switch to the next one then, please? So I just also wanted just to show a couple of the site from a slightly different angle. And again, this is an image from the planning submission last year, so there may be some changes coming through. In particular, there is a section 73 planning submission live now, which is proposing a few changes to the site. But not to these features, which is that we've considered the climate and nature emergency that the council declared very much at the forefront of our minds in designing the site. So all the roof space possible is covered with solar panels, so we can generate as much of our own electricity as possible. We have had to clear, obviously, the site to allow the build to go ahead, but there's substantial landscaping and planting boundaries all around the site to replace a lot of what we've had to take out. We're future-proofing the site for electric vehicles. Converting to electric vehicles is a key tranche of the journey to net zero for the council. And the building itself, the main office and welfare building, has been built with the fabric first principle, which means the designers have looked at the materials that are being used and how they perform in terms of energy efficiency and that sort of thing, as well as sort of other mechanical and electrical features that will help with making it as efficient as possible. So sorry, Alison, the next one, if you could please. So there's just 4 bullets of some of the other features of how we're going to be able to act and perform operationally to help with the journey to net zero. So as I said, we're going to be able to maximise recycling of all the materials we collect, whether at the recycling centre or via the curbside service through the new facilities there and equipment. Talked about the replacement of vehicles with electric powered wherever we can, even refuse collection vehicles and the Rome-equipped recycling vehicles models are coming forward that are powered with electricity. We always operate as efficient route planning as we possibly can for all our collection rounds and so on, so that we reduce fuel use as much as possible. So that will be an exercise we'll be going through in the next year or so to replicate that with the change from vehicles based at Midland Road. And then we are also, the site is designed with being able to haul some of the materials that we have to take off site out in bigger vehicles, articulated lorries, so that we have bigger payloads per trip, which makes it more efficient and less carbon emissions per tonne of waste. And obviously this site gives us a good benefit of the ease of access onto the strategic road network via the Keynsham bypass and onto the ring road and so on. So some key features there. So that was actually all I wanted to cover. So I wanted to pass to, I'm not sure if it's going to Claire or Suzanne, but over to Farron's, who've got some information to share with yourselves as well.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. It's Suzanne here. I'm going to run through the presentation. Claire's online as well, just if we have any questions at the end. But Alison, are you going to share my slides or do you want me to?
Yeah, whatever suits you best, Suzanne.
I can try here. I'm usually on Teams, so when you flip to another technology, sometimes it gets.
If you want me to do it, just.
Can you see them now?
Yeah.
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 Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Suzanne Lutton. I'm from Farron's Construction, and Kate's just given you an overview there of the project itself and what's happening on site. I'm going to just cover quickly an introduction to Farron's. Most of you won't know who we are, heard of us before, until we appeared in Keynsham. Then I want to just talk a bit about some of the delivery around the social value activities that we would be planning alongside the construction works, and how some of you might be able to help us and support us in delivering those. So I'll try to stick to my time. I do tend to talk too much, but I'll try to stick to my time and keep you all on time on your agenda. So Farran's are a civil and building engineering company. Our parent company is CRH, the leading buildings material company of the world. And we have been around for over 75 years. We have offices in Belfast, which is our head office, but we also have offices in London, Cambridge and Edinburgh. And we have other site offices connecting our regional network across the UK. And this map just shows where we're currently active on sites across that area. We deliver projects in these sectors, building, obviously residential, commercial and public sector, which can be schools, hospitals, leisure centres, the likes of this recycling hub. We also have our civils side of the business, delivering roads and bridges. Like we're delivering 3 of the largest bridge projects in the UK, 2 in Suffolk and Norfolk, Lowestoft, and the Galway Bridge, and then up in Glasgow, and other pipeline projects and roads and public realm schemes across the UK and Ireland. Here we are at Keynsham Recycling Hub that Kate has already ran over the details of the actual project. So the way we work is Claire Taylor, who's online tonight as well, heads up the project for us as contracts manager and oversees the site team and support team. So we have on site our engineer, site manager, and his team, and we have a support team who work alongside them with our designers, planners, the likes of myself in the community business team. And obviously our delivery is through our supply chain. So we have excellent subcontractors that we work with and partners, which would include community stakeholders and people that you would represent tonight. So that's Jared on who's our site manager, and that's our contact details on for the site there, just to touch on the site. So as regards social value, Farran's have been delivering social value across the years, mainly since the introduction of the Social Value Act in 2012, which some of you will be familiar with. And I suppose that flipped things around from it being a nice thing to do to being a must do. And for us, we continue to deliver, and we hope and we do achieve real and meaningful benefits, such as increasing employment in areas where there might be skill shortages or development needs, attracting new talent into the construction sector and widening participation in the industry, and again with that inspiring the next generation. Just to let you know who I am, I'm a senior community business partner and I am based in London, and I cover all of our buildings projects in London, the London area and the south of England. So I cover the project in Keynsham, and that's as regards stakeholder management, so working on relationship management and communications for the project, and also delivering social value, and the work in collaboration with many stakeholders, councils, schools, local suppliers, local community groups, local residents, to ensure that we really truly deliver some added value there with our social value activities on site. We take a collaborative approach, and the main themes are around employment, the economy and communities, and we work closely with our supply chain to do that, and as I said, other partners. It's been difficult the last couple of years, given obviously the pandemic and the fact that we lost the ability to bring a lot of people on site. We couldn't have sites open, and a lot of our activities had to go online, but we've still managed to deliver a lot across the business. These are just some of the numbers of some of the outcomes that we achieved across our projects in the UK and Ireland in just last year alone. So looking at what we are proposing for the Keynsham project, we have a social value delivery plan that we've developed along with the council through our initial tender process, our procurement, and now in recent weeks, now that we're actually active on site. So we cover off the 3 themes. So looking at jobs, we will be providing apprenticeships on site, and I'm already engaged with Bath College and a couple of other providers around those opportunities. local job starts. We want to provide job starts for local people. I'm thinking one of my points tonight is to pick up with those people dealing with Ukrainian visitors and any potential opportunities there. We have recruited some local people from Keynsham who are working actively on site at the moment. We offer placements, work experience, training on site and support for our staff team and the people who come on board with us, and also educational outreach. So next Friday, I'm going to Oldfield School in Bath to take part in a careers fair there. And I'm delivering some workshops, just agreed to deliver some workshops in Salford Primary School. So we're already engaging with some of our local partners. Also then the next area and theme is looking at the growth of the local business. So us supporting who actually is in the supply chain in the area, so that it's the economy in the area closest to our site that are benefiting as well from the investment of this project. So we always consider local supply chain in our procurement process. And we also then make opportunities known and available through different events and initiatives so that the local supply chain can engage with us. We have been using locally concrete supplier, crane supplier, waste management supplier, catering supplies, all very close to our site. We also would support capacity building of local businesses through mentoring and opportunities for social enterprise for them to get experience and provide their services to us if there's anything relevant. And we also closely monitor our own supply chain around fair employment and modern slavery, making sure that we're looking after the people that are working with us and the people we're working with. And the final theme then is around the social side of things and looking at communities. And we would offer out opportunities to support volunteering with some of our team, perhaps taking part in volunteering, or we would support provision of equipment for different events and things that come up, also community events as well. And we also would make charitable donations in the area we're working in. At the minute, through engagement already with Alison and Sarah and their team, we are actually going into a care home in Keynsham to help them with clearing and planting out a garden area that isn't very well used by the residents at the moment. And we have also offered some trees to be planted in the local area. That might happen later in the year, and looking at maybe a community planting day and things, and also taking part in the Clean and Green initiative. So those are the kind of activities that we have planned already and that we would like to sort of get involved in going forward. So I suppose for me tonight, it's really about a call out to everyone to say, I'm here, we're here, please do, take this away as food for thought, have a think about what groups you're working with, who might benefit from some of this partnership working or support, or we're more than welcome to host visits on site for relevant groups to see, with training in mind or learning about construction in mind, or some of those sustainability messages that Kate already mentioned in her presentation. So you can get in touch with me either on that main email address or through Alison or Sarah. We have a community, a newsletter for the project newsletter, which is sent out regularly with updates just on what's happening on site. And we're hoping to make that more available through email. So we're building up an email database rather than printing and posting, again, a more sustainable approach. So our email address there on site, as you see, is keynsham@firens.com. Just send me an email and I'll put you on the email database, not a problem, and we can keep you updated. And so if anyone has any questions or anything on that, let me know. I will try and unshare my screen so you can see everyone's face.
Suzanne, there's one question already popped up. Who is the newsletter going to be shared with?
Well, we have, the first newsletter that we issued, we posted it to about over 600 properties across. So we would choose a geographical area adjacent to the site. So we shared it with those properties, and it was also shared with about 120 people by email. So that was local businesses. We had a number of community groups on that as well, schools and all of those, but anyone who wants to receive it can certainly send an email. We also have, I should have had on there, we also have on our Farrens.com website. We have a project webpage for Keynsham, and we will be, we've hosted, you know, we've put a link to the newsletter there, and we will put them all up there, so you can easily pop on that page at any time. We'll be regularly updating that with any changes to the project or anything that's happening on site or in and around. So you can check that there.
You will have become aware this evening that this isn't just a Keynsham forum, or indeed Keynsham and Salford. There are parish councils around the outside, as it were. Can we perhaps have the newsletter delivered to those parish councils? I imagine that Alison and Sarah will be able to help you with the people that it needs to be delivered to, and then that can be shared with the parish councillors.
We can also put the email link in, so that if people want to self-register for the newsletter, we can do that in the follow-up. So, because I guess, you know, as it's an e-newsletter, it doesn't matter how wide it's distributed, does it? So
absolutely not. Yeah, that's perfect. It was issued to the parish councils this time, so that came out though from the council. So maybe but going forward, no problem. Yeah, we can continue to do that, or anyone who wants it. Okay,
and there is also a suggestion that the Keynsham Voice, which goes out to the communities, that might be a place also to get some updating put in. I'm sure they'd be happy to receive any copy that you might have as time goes on.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Hal's got a question.
Hal, you've got a question, or is your hand stood up from the last time?
I got two questions, mainly to Kate. Someone was asking me the other day, they seem to be convinced that it was going to be a booking system, but I understood that it was you were gonna have sort of random drive up access to people. And the other question was, could you give us an example of some of the new materials that might be able to be recycled at the new hub?
Booking system, no, the intention is to keep Pixash, the new Pixash, as not to have a booking system. However, in the very unlikely event that we do have build-ups of queues of people waiting to get in, we will have a booking system as a backup, so that we can, you know, bring it into place if we need to, basically. But no, the intention is to keep it as free access.
Could I just follow up on that one then, Kate, if I may? Because, you know, from my previous life, I'm very familiar with the impact that Midland Road has on the A4 on busy weekends. Have you modelled that on the new site?
Yes,
so
there was
extensive. You don't want to be back onto the A4 again.
No. One of the key features of the transport assessment that was part of the planning application last year, one of the key instructions, if you like, that we gave the transport consultants and the designers of the site was to model the traffic movement so that we absolutely do not have any queuing onto even World's End Lane or Pixash Lane, let alone out onto the A4. I skipped over the design of the site quite quickly, but actually World's End Lane, which at the moment is a single lane, as you may be aware, that will be widened to two lanes rather, and we'll also have a feeder road off that into the public recycling centre. And then the design allows for queuing space around and along a ground floor level where people can deposit their sort of curbside recyclables and access the reuse shop and deposit hazardous waste like asbestos and so on and so forth. And then they'll go up a ramp onto an upper level where there's, I think it's 21, I think, of the big bulk deposit and recycling bays where there'll be people can deposit their garden waste and cardboard and wood and metals and electrical items and so on and so forth. So we should have at least say 2 bulk bays to deposit for each of those materials, which will also help the throughput of people coming to recycle there, because people won't be waiting for one particular bay to be free enough to use and so on. So as I say, it's all been designed to actually contain the traffic flows on the site rather than impact even the local roads at all.
Okay, thank you for that. Sorry.
Okay.
Andy?
No, it's okay. No, it's a very good point that we've had at the forefront of our minds, as we said. So other materials, you're probably catching me out here now, Hal. But, mattresses are one we're keen to be able to bring forward in a much more often. Carpets are a difficult one at the moment. Hard plastics like garden furniture and so on, we do a little bit of at the moment, but we're very restricted for space at our current recycling centres to be able to collect and then take those materials off site. Plastic films and wrappers, shopping bags, and the plastic films off the top of food trays and so on is something we're actively working on at the moment to try and introduce. Unfortunately, there aren't any reprocessing facilities for those materials at the moment in the UK, but there is plants being planned by reprocessing companies to be developed hopefully next year. So we're actively monitoring what's happening there to be able to introduce those as well.
Okay, thank you, Kate. Andy?
Duncan's just stolen my thunder.
Right.
Thank you, Duncan.
Yeah, and can everybody else read the chat? Well, if they haven't got it open, it says soft plastic from summer 2023 when a new soft plastic plant opens in South Wales. So
that's what's planned.
Yeah,
I should say. Let's we need to see it come to fruition, obviously.
All right, Andy.
Thank you, thank you, Alan, and thank you for the presentation, Kate and Suzanne. I thought it was very interesting. My question sort of follows on from Alan's a bit. Keynsham is right on the edge of Baines, and it's not long before you go into Bristol or to South Gloucestershire. Now, at the moment, there's a sort of system which sometimes you're asked by an operative if you live in Keynsham and you need to provide some sort of identification, like a driver's license or something. That's quite slow, and obviously the operators, when they're busy, don't do that. So are you intending to have a system that you tried 4 or 5 years ago of having license numbers, car license numbers registered, so there's some sort of electronic way of working out? Because Alan's concerned about the A4. I think I've got some concerns about the Keynsham bypass and cars coming in that way from other authorities. So is there a way of doing that, or is it going to be done by sort of a very old-fashioned way of actually asking?
Yeah, I mean, I take that point. The previous system was taken out in the end because we couldn't get it to work as we really wanted it to with the IT and so on that was available at the time. It's something we'll be looking at to make it more efficient, but what will be in place will be checks on for residents to be Baines residents rather than coming from Bristol or South Gloss. And I would just add that Bristol are about to open a brand new reuse and recycling facilities, quite similar to what we're opening at Kingston. Actually, they're about to open that anytime now, literally any day now. So a lot of their residents will have a brand new facility to start using, and improving other authority, improving their facilities is always a priority for other authorities as well, because of recycling being so important on the climate change agenda, and economically better than sending waste to landfill or other treatment plants.
Okay, just one other off of the chat. Will the site have longer opening hours to increase recycling and maybe reduce fly tipping? Kate.
Kate, I think you're on.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I got there. Sorry. It had to happen once. Yeah, I think the intention at the moment is to maintain the opening hours as they are now. But and as I've explained, that the site is much larger and will be much quicker and easier to use for residents. So there'll be much quicker flows through the site. But it is something we will monitor and take soundings from yourselves, from the local community, as to what your requirements, what your needs are ongoing once it is actually up and running.
Okay, that's great, Kate. Just two other things, if you like. My daughter went to the recycling centre only the other day, and already she thought it had improved as far as the through flow is concerned. So a big tick there. The final point, what chance, can you organise a visit to the site before it's open to the public? A little bit, I mean, this, we don't want to go and just see a mud patch, but once it's starting to take really good form that you can walk around and understand, perhaps members of the forum could be invited to have a visit.
Yeah, I think that would be an excellent idea, and I'm sure Farrens will be happy to host that.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
no problem. Yeah.
That's
but as you say, I think it's early days at the moment in the construction process, so I think it needs to be a little bit further along to make it a bit more meaningful, particularly on the new public recycling centre, when that's got a bit more shape and form to it, perhaps.
I was thinking before Christmas. So
I would be open before Christmas, Alan.
I thought, didn't you, Suzanne, say July 2023?
No, November for the public reuse and recycling centre.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
well,
so later this year.
Look forward to a visit before the end of summer then, perhaps.
Yeah,
right.
We'll talk to Farrens about the best timing for that. But yes, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. There are no other questions, and we are just after 7:30. So can I thank everybody that has played a part tonight? It's always good to see a good turnout. I will abuse my position as I did last time, just to remind you that there is a new support group in Kingston, which is the Bereavement Support Keynsham. We provide a drop-in service on the fourth Monday of every month between 2 and 4 at Keynsham Baptist Church. So if you find, or if you know of anybody that might benefit from that, it's free. It's tea and coffee and biscuits with empathetic listening ears there. And it's at the Keynsham Baptist Church Hall. I mean, we obviously need funds, but we are building funds. I'm not looking at you, Suzanne, but please make use of it. We are working with Dorothy House Hospice. They are going to provide training for our facilitators. So it's moving forward positively, and hopefully it's a service that will benefit the town. Well, the town and around, because we've got the registrar for Baines, who is going to send out a flyer with every pack that goes out to somebody who registers a death. So we aren't precious about Keynsham or a little bit out. If somebody turns up, well then we hope we can help them. So again, thank you very much for tonight. The next forum meeting will take place on Thursday, the 29th of September at 6 p.m. And just to let you know, that's also the forum for the AGM. So, or does it mean it's only the forum for the AGM?
Well, the AGM will be part of the forum.
Right. Okay. So
I thought it was a trick question then.
Well, I suppose it was if I'd have said it the right way round. Yeah, it will be the next forum meeting, but part of it will be the AGM. So have a safe journey going downstairs. or upstairs, wherever you happen to be sat at the moment. And hopefully we will see you again in September. So thank you for your support. Take care. Bye.